Hi, my name is Melissa White.
I'm Eleni Uriosti.
We're both concert violinists, and together we're the co-founders of Intermission Sessions and Retreat.
And we are delighted to introduce to you one of our yoga instructors for our inaugural retreat this August 20th to 27th, Tiffany June.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for a closer look at what it means to take an intermission.
Just a little refresher on the components of intermission. We have the retreat, the first of which will be this August 20th to 27th, held at the gorgeous Wilburton Inn, just outside Manchester, Vermont. And that's an artist colony meets yoga retreat for seasoned professional musicians. And then Sessions is a 2-week music festival for students looking to develop a better sense of their physical well-being in conjunction with their busy practice and rehearsal schedules. We've put together a little series of videos for you that will touch on a number of the concepts introduced at Intermission, both this summer at the inaugural retreat, in future retreats, and eventually at Sessions in 2018.
The first class will be some warm-up exercises and just body placement that you can think about before you begin rehearsal or a performance with your instrument. And the second class will be a short flow series that you can use and take with you wherever you are. And then finally, the third will be a core workout and a lower body workout, which you can use to strengthen your entire body and will culminate with holding your instrument and a better way to have good posture while you're doing what you do best.
The tools introduced in these videos will be helpful to either type of participant or anyone looking to deepen their awareness or mindfulness or physical practice at home.
So now you've heard a bit about Intermission Sessions and Retreat and met Tiff, and we would like for Tiff to take it away and start our series.
All right, so we are going to start with this about 20-minute long sequence that is designed to work from the fingertips, the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, all the way up through the neck to release some tension to both stretch and strengthen and help the entire upper body feel good. And we're first going to start getting in different positions. We know you might not have blocks handy or any sort of props, and that's okay. So I'm going to stay in this position where I'm just kneeling on my shins, much like Melissa here. I'm going to prop Melissa up on a couple of blocks. And so first of all, Melissa, if you go ahead and come onto all fours, place your hands down. I'm going to take these 2 blocks. If you'll lift your feet up, I'm going to slip the blocks underneath you, and then I'd like you to widen your feet out to the side of the blocks, just like that, feet down, and then go ahead and sit your bum back down onto the blocks. And how does that feel? Good. Okay. And Elena is just going to find a comfortable cross-legged seated position. And this is really however you feel comfortable. Your legs can stay like that. They can come more in front, so the shins might be a bit more parallel. It's really so that you can have a comfortable seat of your hips and pelvis on the mat while maintaining a relatively straight spine. So the first thing we're going to do is start with very simple warming up of your hands and fingertips. So just start flicking your fingers like this. And this might not seem like it is doing much at all, but not only are we starting to get the fingertips warm by sending energy to them, that will just kind of bring your consciousness to that area, but it is also building strength in the forearms. And you can do this for as long as you want, really. The more you do it, the stronger your hands will become. And then go ahead, instead of that, just go ahead and give the hands a little bit of a shake. Moving that up into the wrist, and you can turn that shake into more of a kind of come here motion. And then you can turn it back to a shake like this. Okay, and then the next one is going to be more individualized for the fingers. We're actually going to be flossing the tendons through what's called the carpal tunnel of the wrists. So go ahead and take your right arm and keep a slight bend to the elbow. Your left hand is going to grab onto your thumb from underneath and pull your thumb slightly out to the side and then flex at the heel of your hand and then push your hand forward away from you while maintaining that soft bend to the elbow. So it's really common here to completely overextend. We want to keep the elbow soft but pull the hand and the thumb back. And then notice how Melissa is keeping her fingers straight. See if you can do that. So Elena, see if you can straighten your fingers out just a little bit. And then to release that, just bend the elbow a little bit more, release the thumb, and then move on to the index finger. Pull the index finger back, spread the palm of your hand, spread your fingers, straighten them out. Notice if the shoulder starts to hike up towards the ears, it sometimes does. And then release that out the same way you went in and switch. Middle finger, pull it back, spread the heel of the hand, and watch how those fingers want to curl up. And then release that. Move on to the ring finger. Same thing. And you can take these and stay here a lot longer, breathing nice, full, deep breath throughout. And release that one. Move on to the pinky finger. Pull it back, widen the heel of the hand out, fingers stretch down. And release that. And then go ahead and give that hand another shake. And then we'll switch and do the other hand. The left arm is going to come out, right hand grabs down. Start with the thumb, pull it out away from the rest of the palm, bend it back, good. Spread, imagine as though someone was coming around and really opening up the palm so that it gets nice and full. Pull the pinky away if you can, more so through the muscle. And then go ahead and release that and move on to the index finger, pull that back. Relax the shoulders. And releasing that, go to the middle finger, pull that one back. Again, slight bend in the elbow. It's really easy to keep that straight. You guys, and release, move to the ring finger. Widen the heels of the hand, fingers are nice and strong. And release that, and then last one, pinky finger. Pull that back, flex the heel of the hand, keep the elbow softly bent, shoulders relaxed. Good, go and release that, and just shake that hand out slightly. Okay, we have one more in this position, and this one I call pouring water out of jugs. So you're going to take your thumbs and curl them in the center of your palms, and then curl all 5 fingers or 4 fingers around the thumb. Reach your arms straight out to the side and have your elbows or your wrists, your elbows, and your shoulders in one line. And now turn your thumbs up towards the ceiling. And then you're going to imagine that you've got a big jug of water here and start to pour the water out. And so you're going to start to pour the water straight out to the side. And so it's going to come as though you're pushing your thumb knuckle straight out. And this can be relatively intense. Especially if you've got some tenderness through the top of these muscles here. Shoulders are relaxed. Try to breathe. Take one more breath here. And then go ahead and release that ever so slightly. And just hands, release the thumbs, and you can wiggle that out if you like as well. And from here, we're going to all come to sit in a position like Elena. So if you are sitting like me on your shins, or if you're on blocks like Melissa, go ahead and move them out of the way. If you have been sitting cross-legged like Elena, go ahead and switch the cross so that your opposite shin is in front, so it might kind of feel a bit weird. And this one, again, you just want to make sure you've got a nice firm base, and arms are going to come out to the side, thumbs up. And then this, we're just going to start to warm up the shoulders. So very simply, thumbs are going to turn down as far as you can, so palms open back, and then switch that and turn the palm all the way up and thumbs back as far as you can. And continue going like this nice and slow, and really think about this spiral action happening all the way. You guys can continue to move at your own pace. And think about the shoulder blade might even start to move with you a little bit, so that as your palms move down and back, your shoulder blade might even slide forward a little bit, and you might feel a bit of a roundness through your chest. That's okay. We're really trying to just move as much of the arm bone in the socket as we can, and the shoulder blade might go with that. It's okay. A lot of of people don't think about rotation as being a strengthening or a stretching exercise, but can actually be a really simple and effective way to get these muscles engaged. And you'll notice that the slower you do it, the more control you have, but the faster you do it, the more heat you'll build, and there's no right or wrong way. Just a few more rotations. One more to whatever direction. And from here, go ahead and let's reach both arms up overhead. And then just very simple side bend. Take your left arm down to your side, reach your right arm up and over. And then plant your left hand into the floor, really nice and firm, and then press your left hand into the floor so that you are almost, think of lifting and bowing the right lower rib cage up towards the ceiling as you lift the right arm up. Your gaze, it's up to you. You can look up towards the ceiling, or you can look down to the floor, or you can just drop the head. I'm not too concerned about the neck right now. Make sure that the right sitting bone stays heavy and it's not lifting off of the ground. And now keep your left hand where it is, but just straighten up your spine. Your right hand is going to come to your left knee. So take the outer right palm, back of the palm to the outer left knee. And then take your left hand behind you and tent the fingertips, lift up nice and straight, and then take a twist to the left. And you can take your gaze, let that follow you as far as you want. And then from here, lift your left arm, that's your back arm, up overhead, and you're going to make a big arc, and you're going to grab onto your right knee, turn your left palm down, grab your knee, and then pull back into a cat spine. Push your knees forward, draw your navel into your spine, widen your back ribs, and drop your chin into your chest. And then from there, release that and just reach both arms up overhead. Take a nice big full breath. Sitting bones remain heavy, and we'll do that all to the other side. So right arm is going to go down outside your hips, push into the floor, lift the left arm up and overhead. Notice if your left hip wants to get light, so really drop down the left sitting bone into the mat. Gaze is again wherever you feel most comfortable. One more breath here. And then look down to the floor. You're going to take that left hand, back of the palm to the outer right knee. Right hand goes behind you, tent the fingertips, find a long spine, make sure you lengthen up, and then you'll rotate, using the pressure of the back of the left hand to the knee. Left hand stays where it is, right arm is going to lift up and over, make a big arc, and hook to the left knee, push the knees forward, pull the navel in, round, drop your head. And then reach both arms up overhead. We're going to flow with the breath now. So inhale, arms reach up. As you exhale, side bend to your left. So that's left arm down, right arm up and over. Breathe out. Right palm to the left knee. Lengthen up as you inhale. Plant your left hand behind you. That's your breath in. You twist on the breath out. As you inhale, left arm reaches up and overhead, grabs onto the right knee. That's the breath in. The exhale is round into yourself. Pull the navel in, drop the head. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale, straighten up as the left hand goes to the outer right knee. Right hand behind you. You exhale as you twist. Inhale, right arm lifts up and overhead. It's the exhale where you clasp the knee and round, chin into chest. and just release that and give the shoulders a little circle. And then we are going to be moving on to all fours from here. So however you'd like to, you can roll over your shins, plant your hands down on the mat. Hands are going to go right underneath the shoulders. Your knees are going to go underneath the hips. So very important to find that foundation. And then from here, just take a quick peek at your hands and have either your index or your middle fingers parallel to one another. That is really a personal preference. Some people have their hands slightly more turned out, which would mean the index fingers are parallel. Some people like that middle finger parallel. Just find what's comfortable for you. The big thing we want to make sure is that the knuckle of your index finger is firmly rooted into the mat. That is the one that tends to lift a lot, especially when we bear weight. And then look at the wrist creases. Think about those two also being parallel to the front edge of your mat. It's going to keep that angle nice and safe. So we've set the base of the hand. We're now going to move up the arm. The next important thing is the elbow placement. So what you want to do is look at the center, the eye of your elbow, and what we want is if you drew a straight line from the center of each of the eyes of your elbows, and if you're looking straight down at the mat, you want the lines coming out of the eyes of your elbow to drop straight under your nose. So they were to meet if you were looking straight down at the mat. So now that we've got the wrists to the elbows aligned, we're going to do just a few what I call scapular push-ups. And this is a way to floss the muscles of the upper back to help both you're getting a little bit of a stretch and you're also getting some strengthening action through your serratus, which is very important for some stabilization. So what I'm going to have you guys do is you're going to keep your spine super straight. So this is not a cat-cow where we're bending our pelvis or a rib cage. Our spine is going to stay very straight. Your arms are going to stay straight. All I want you to do is imagine from your head to your tailbone, you're going to just drop your spine, your heart straight down to the mat and let your shoulder blades come together behind you as best as you can. So, but your arms stay straight. So Elaine and Alyssa have never done this before, so this is a good practice on how well I can cue and how well it very good. So they're both starting to do it, and this is a very unfamiliar movement because most of the time we want to bend the arms. The arms can always have a soft bend. We want to make sure that we're not hyperextending at the elbows. What you're wanting to do is very good, is to move the shoulder blades. So we're trying to get some mobilization through there and also find a little bit of stability through the serratus anterior.
So Tiff, can I just pause and say, perhaps on behalf of some other musicians doing this, my wrists are starting to fatigue a little bit. So what would you say to someone who might have a similar concern?
Very good idea. So what I would say is I would get you off of your wrists. You can always do when a teacher puts you into this sort of tabletop position, you can always move your hands forward, which decreases the angle at your wrist, which might help. You can also take the weight back, come up onto your fingertips. This is not going to be a standard tabletop by any means, but that's okay depending on what the teacher's having you do. You can also come to your elbows and drop into your serratus push-ups that way. Okay, so there's lots of options to choose. Since we're going to stay with the serratus, I would drop to, it's a fantastic idea. How are your wrists feeling, Melissa?
Slightly fatigued, I'm moving.
So after you've done enough push-ups that you feel is comfortable or that you have enjoyed doing, we're going to come into a child's pose next, which is one of the best postures in yoga that you can take at any time that you feel you would just like to get off the hand specifically, or you need a moment to rest and kind of gather your thoughts. So for child's pose, You bring your big toes to touch at the back of your mat, and then very simply push your bum down onto your heels. Arms, two ways you can do child's pose here. You can keep them extended out in front of you, or sometimes it's nice to bring your arms alongside your body. Elena can show you how to do that. Palms would come up, shoulders are going to roll a bit forward. Your forehead can stay on the mat, your cheek can turn to one side. It's really whatever is comfortable here in child's pose. Feeling the weight of your hips settle down. This is a great pose to help yourself turn inward, so always a good time to come into whenever you feel like you would like a rest or would you like a break. So feel free to stay in child's pose as long as you feel comfortable. It's, again, a great place to spend a minute, 5 minutes, a couple breaths, however you want. From here, though, we are going to come back onto our hands and knees. So if your hands are back like Elena, let's stretch them forward. And just take a moment to consciously plant the hands down on the mat. And then when you feel ready, come forward back onto your hands and your knees. Maybe, again, finding the parallel of the fingers, parallel of the wrists, where the elbow creases are going to point. Find your stacking in that way. And then we're going to lift the right arm up towards the ceiling. Very nice. And then thread that right arm underneath your left to place the right shoulder down on the mat. The right palm can turn up towards the ceiling if that's comfortable for you. You can stay exactly as you are here. One quick tip, oftentimes that left hip wants to hike forward. So imagine someone took their finger and hooked it in your left hip and draw your left outer hip back. Nice adjustment for both of you. And then if you would like an extra stretch for the left shoulder, that's the one that's up. Lift your left arm up to the ceiling. Turn your palm so that your thumb faces behind you. Exactly. And then you're going to place that hand behind your back or wherever it falls. If you've got open shoulders like Elena does here, she's actually slipping that hand in front and hanging onto her thigh. That can work great. Now from here you can also take that bottom right hand and maybe you bend the elbow, and if you want, you can even put that hand on your shoulder and maybe give it a little nudge to open up the chest even more. It's totally up to you wherever you feel comfortable. Notice if the hips start to move at all. You can press the tops of your feet, maybe your shins into the mat. If you like, that will let the lower belly engage slightly. And take a couple breaths here. You will get out in the same way, reversing that you went in. So hand will go down first, left arm lifts up, unrotates, and then plant your left hand down. When you're ready, press left hand down, lift the right arm all the way up towards the ceiling. Get a counter twist here. And then you'll place your right hand down under the shoulders. And then take some cat-cows here. I know Elena expressed in the first intermission video that you saw some cat-cow. So that's where now Melissa is in cow pose. It's where she looks up, drops the belly down, tips the tailbone up. That's a breath in. Your exhale, do the opposite. So push into the palms, press into the tops of the feet, the shins, pull your navel in, widen the back of your heart, the back of your ribs. And then again, take a full inhale, tip the tailbone up, draw the chin just parallel to the floor. It's a big tendency to want to hyperextend. And then again, do the opposite. Exhale, press into the floor, draw your navel up and in, widen the back of the ribs. Good. And then this next inhale, find just a neutral, very level spine. Tailbone reaches back, crown of the head reaches forward. Shift the weight into the right hand. The left arm is going to lift up this time. We're threading the needle to the opposite. You'll exhale as you swing the left arm underneath. And then take your time here again. Before you do anything else with your hands, think about what your hips are doing. So level those hips off, whether that means the right hip needs to hook back ever so slightly. Rotate that out just a little bit. And then if you did so, and if that feels good, you can do the same thing here. Your right arm would lift up to the ceiling if you're taking it to the second. rotate so that the thumb is down, slip the arm behind your back, or maybe it slips down and you grab onto the thigh. And that can also be a little self-assist here. So maybe you kind of push the thigh away from you a little bit if that feels good. Bottom hand can come to the arm if you want. That's what Melissa's doing here. And you can just rest it there, or if you want to kind of maybe put the fingertips a little bit lower and just assist by pushing the shoulder back, if at all that feels good. If it's too much, just stay where you're comfortable. And this is where you'll take a few breaths. Maybe you close your eyes. And when you're ready to come out, reverse the steps, and you'll make your way back to all fours, tabletop position. Rounds of cat-cow. This time we're going to add a little release for the wrists. So inhale to your cow pose like normal, tailbone tips up. This time as you exhale, I want you to shift the weight back, come into cat pose, but tent the fingertips as you do. So the hips will move past, tent the fingertips, drop the head, give those wrists a break. And then again, your inhale will be normal, plant the palms, tip the tailbone up. And then on the exhale, again, shift the weight back, tent the fingertips, and really push back, pull your navel in. And then come back to a tabletop position, find a neutral spine. All right, how are you guys doing? Great. Okay, so one more thing on the hands here before we actually stand up and move to the wall. This is going to be a little bit of a side body and a neck stretch. You're going to extend the leg behind you, flex the foot, and put the ball of your toes on the floor. And then the knee that is still on the floor, I want you to kickstand that out to the left just a little bit. And then you're going to drop the inner edge of your back heel towards the midline of your mat, and then lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. You might have to adjust this bottom arm however it feels comfortable. Make sure that if anything, it's slightly forward of your wrists, or excuse me, forward of your shoulders. That bottom shoulder, draw that slightly down your back so that it is supporting you. Push your left palm down to find some lift up through the right fingertips. Now from here, you're going to turn your thumb towards the back of your heart and then start to reach your right arm overhead. First, this is going to be a nice lat stretch through here. Think about lengthening your tailbone back towards that straight leg. Navel draws in. Now keep this length of your body, but you're going to lift that top arm all the way back up and overhead. Turn your palm forward towards the front and then start to reach that arm all the way down towards your hip. Reach out through the fingertips and now drop your left ear down towards the floor and let the head hang as heavy as is comfortable for you, getting a nice stretch through the right shoulder, through the right neck. Keep pushing your left arm down. It's a big tendency to sink and collapse that left shoulder. We want to stay active and engaged. Take one more big breath here. And then very simply, just look down towards the floor. Right hand is going to come down, right knee comes down, left toes point to the back of your mat, and switch sides. Extend the left leg back behind you. Tuck the toes first. Kickstand the right shin out to the right. So go ahead and switch sides. And then when you're ready, so go ahead and kickstand the shin out to the right. Yeah, there you go. Drop your left heel, that back heel to the midline, and then lift your left arm up. Nice placement, both of you guys. Again, make sure if anything, the wrist is slightly forward of your shoulder. Push down, especially through the head of the index knuckle, and then first start to reach your left arm up and overhead. And really see if you can feel a long line of energy shooting from the fingertips down through the entire left side of the body. Lengthen the tailbone towards that back left inner heel. Keep that long line of energy going. And then take the hand into the side, the neck stretch. So you're going to reach that left arm all the way back up and overhead. And then reach your fingertips straight back, drop the right ear towards the shoulder. Notice if that right shoulder, again, wants to hike up. So keep the right shoulder down, but try to let the neck go. The neck is the thing that wants to have control, so it's really hard to let go. One more breath here. And then take your gaze to the floor. Left hand will come down, left knee, toes come back. And then let's take a child's pose where you will interlace your hands behind your back. Open your palms just to give your wrists a little counter stretch from being on them. And then you can keep the palms open, or if it's comfortable to you, maybe you bend the elbows and clasp the fists. But then just start to draw the shoulder blades together behind the back of your heart, any amount, and then reach your fist up and overhead. Again, any amount that is comfortable. If it feels good and intuitive to you, maybe you roll a bit towards the top of the head, but maybe not. Some people enjoy that sensation, some not so much. It's your choice. And then when you feel ready, hands will come to the low back first, and then release down by your sides. Okay, I know it's really nice to stay in this position, but we've got two more things that we're going to do. They involve standing up and finding a wall space. So the next stretch that we are going to do at the wall is a pec stretch. And so our legs are going to be staggered. So you're going to have the leg that is closest to the wall forward and the leg that is away from the wall back. And this distance can be as far as you feel comfortable and stable. Your arm is going to go up like this, the elbow at the same height as your shoulder, maybe an inch above, maybe 2 inches, but we're trying to keep it at relatively this 90-degree angle, or excuse me, not 90 degrees. This is going to make a 90-degree angle. This is going to stay relatively level. The hand stays over the elbow relatively in line with the shoulder. And you want to start with that elbow. Actually, how you're going to start is you're going to find your staggered stance. You're going to turn your rib cage towards the wall a little bit. And in order to do so, your arm that you place at the wall is going to need to come back just a little bit so that it keeps this angle. Press the palm into the wall. Press your forearm into the wall. And now from here, what I want you to focus on is you can take that left hand and you can push the fingertips into the wall to help you start to rotate your rib cage away from the wall. And you should start to feel a stretch in the front of your chest. So that right shoulder that's at the wall will want to hike up. Make sure the right shoulder blade stays down. And make sure, go ahead and put a slight bend in the front leg so that there's a little bit of kind of a lunge sensation happening. Exactly. And you can play with the placement of your head here in order to get different stretches of your neck. So maybe you start to look down towards your left shoulder. Maybe you start to look up towards the ceiling. Maybe you look straight forward but drop the left ear towards the shoulder. There's lots of different placements here. Nothing is wrong. It's really whatever feels good for you. Another interesting sensation sometimes can be to keep your right arm exactly as it is, but begin to drop the rest of your body down. So what you're doing here is the legs will need to bend in order to, it's like the body's moving at an elevator and it's going to drop straight down. So not forward necessarily, but down. It's a very weird thing and you probably won't be able to go very far. Does that make sense, ladies? Mm-hmm. Could you feel a difference?
Yeah.
And you can hold this and stay here breathing for, again, as long as you feel comfortable. And then we come out the same way you went in. So if you had dropped or if you had lunged, come back to relatively straight legs. Turn towards the wall first to relieve that stretch. And then from there you can remove the left hand, you can remove the right arm, and then roll the shoulders out, that right arm if you want to give it a little bit of a shake. And then I suggest taking a moment to maybe notice the difference between the left and the right, front of your chest. There's probably a pretty significant change. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Ladies, how do you feel?
Definitely much freer in the right shoulder.
Awesome. So let's switch and do the other side. So that leg that is forward towards the wall, that one goes in front. Start by turning your body to face the wall first. A little rotation in the rib cage. Left arm goes up this time. Start with the elbow again at the height of the shoulder, or a little bit above if you feel comfortable with that, and take it back a little bit more so that you ideally have a straight line. And so the amount of the arm goes back will depend on the amount that you rotate. So the more you rotate your rib cage, the farther back the elbow goes. This is all going to depend on the flexibility of your chest. Lower the left shoulder blade. It's going to want to hike up towards the ears. Right fingertips can tent at the wall in front of you. Make sure you find a little bit of a connection to your core here. I didn't mention that on the other side, but we want to maintain a relatively long, stable core and just be rotating the spine kind of like a spiral staircase. So from here, when you're ready, you can begin to push into your right fingertips and twist the rib cage more towards a neutral or forward, the same direction that your toes are pointing. You might notice a significant difference between the right and the left. Oftentimes there is some. And then if you played around with different neck positioning, please do so here, whether it was dropping the ear to the shoulder or changing the direction of your gaze. And then Melissa's going right into it. If you drop down on the other side, feel free to play around with that sensation. Again, the arm stays stable, and it's just as though the body is an elevator. It just kind of sinks a little bit towards the floor. You can stay here as long as you feel comfortable. You can breathe, play with the neck variations. And then when you're ready to come out, you reverse the steps. So if you went down, elevate yourself, lift on up. Head finds its neutral place, hand away from the wall, and when you're ready, twist and come on out.
I feel ready to practice. I do too. I'm excited to practice. Feels so much more open.
Wonderful and wonderful. Wonderful. Well, hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of awakening through the arms, neck, and we look forward to moving on and progressing from here.